Hello everybody, Stream Your Mind here, and today we are going to answer the question, can you beat Bloodborne without picking up any items? That's right, that means no picking up files, no consumable echoes, no upgrade materials, no DLC, no Lunarium key, no Blood Gem workshop tool, no to anything you can think of, and as always, no bitches, because we are Sigma hunters and we don't need no women distracting us from the hunt, and a doll is more than sufficient to please our desires.
Oh, good hunter.
For the rest, the rules are very simple. Beat the game in any way, shape or form. Trust me, this was one of the most annoying and soul-crushing experiences I had with this game. So believe me when I say that at some point I was actually thinking about... It was like using a lawnmower to shave my pair of hairy and manly coconuts. A lawnmower with rust and STDs covering its blade. So, if you enjoy watching me suffer through these games, you'll definitely find a lot of enjoyment on this channel. So please consider subscribing so I can justify to my therapist why I keep doing this to myself. After choosing the war veteran class, I woke up in a clinic after one of Diddy's freak-off party. Still dizzy from the chloroform, I immediately got to work.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
And after I lit up the lamp, I was teleported to the dream. Not picking up items meant I could not get a starting weapon nor a gun, as both of these things are pickable items as soon as you get to the dream. So I was left with my hands, just like back when I was 14 years old and I just found out about the orange site. Finding a weapon was a top priority, but for now, Molotovs were the only options. I returned in South London and unlocked all the shortcuts, started to throw hands at the peaceful locals to farm for blood echoes. I had no mercy. Even the people in wheelchairs weren't safe, as they could be easily dealt with using the stairs close by. Yeah, I want to see you now, Grandpa. What are you gonna do? Once I had enough cheddar to buy 10 Molotovs, I used the fog door glitch to freeze the cleric beast, which is one of the few bosses in the game that drops a hunter badge that we will then use to acquire a weapon. And yes, I am ready to stoop this low. I started throwing my Molotovs at its face, breaking it for a visceral, chucked the rest of the cocktails, but 10 Molotovs without the help of oil urns weren't enough to kill it. And guess what? I didn't have any oil urns because in order to buy those I would need the powder keg badge, which is available once you befriend Jura in Old Yharnam. So I had to get creative to finish the fight and ended up using my fists. After 5 minutes of beating his meat, the cleric beast finally went down, and we finally obtained the sword hunter badge, gaining access to an actual weapon, the Kirkhammer, which required 16 strength. So I bought the weapon and unlocked the elevator for Gascoigne and used the giant fireball to farm for echoes and leveled up to 16 like a big boy. And now I finally had a weapon. An unupgraded and slow one, but still a weapon. Daddy G wasn't too much of an issue. Obviously, since we still had no access to any sort of upgrade materials, the damage stank more than his breath, but the heavy charge attack from the hammer was pretty good and could turn most enemies into pancakes. And by using the tombstones in phase 1 to get him stuck, resulted in me making some smashed potatoes out of the father. Phase 2 is easy if you remember to dodge around him and not away from him. It's a two-way dance where you're guaranteed to get intimate with the beast until you land the final blow. And with the echoes I gained from the last hunt, I bought the repeating pistol, which will help out for parries against the shadows and Gehrman eventually. Thank God the Odin key is dropped, unlike another crucial item coming up ahead. After crying a bit inside and said goodbye to overpowered gems, I arrived in the Cathedral ward, and I spent the next half an hour or so farming for 10,000 echoes to gain access to the boss. Did I mention that I hate farming, especially in Bloodborne? Why can't I just reset the world by just sitting at the lamp? Why do I have to go back to the dream every time? Tell me, Miyazaki, why are you actively wasting my time? Once I had enough cash, I bought the most expensive key in existence, opened up the rest of the cathedral, and got reminded why I don't live in the UK anymore. After opening the shortcuts, I arrived at Amelia's furry funhouse. Holy shit, that's nasty. This is what you guys do in your free time? Oh hell no. I quit out before I got turned into a degenerate myself and used the fog glitch method to smash Amelia with my big hammer. And if you think this is unfair, well guess what? Life is unfair. And after the fight was over, I went back to the dream, where my idea was to level up my strength and vigor to maximize the damage and my survivability. Once I was done confessing my love to a doll, I moved on to Hemwick, where I became affordable dog food. Then I entered the witch's arena to get the inside point, and I returned to the dream and sold off my merch before realizing I forgot to touch the skull in the cathedral. So I touched the memory and started hallucinating and saw Joe Biden, out of all people, speak to me about some sort of blood or something. Now I could finally get enough bloodstone shards to upgrade to +2. Then I returned to Hemwick, where a group of gilfs wanted to get some of this hot piece of ass. I luckily escaped, but I realized I had like 1 HP left and no vials. The hammer was doing decent damage, so I wasn't too worried. I would just have to look out for their nuke attack. Once I got the first witch low enough, I began looking for the hidden one. I have no idea how I was able to survive this, but now that the first witch was taken care of, I could focus on the second one and end the fight, luckily managing to never get hit like I'm some Geno Machino Scholar. Bought some blood vials and made my way down to Old Yharnam. And again, since I can't pick up items, I directly went to fight the crackhead behind the gas station. And let's say an accident happened.
Real quick, bro. That damage is pretty good. I'm not gonna cheese her. If you lure her in these corners, she tends to be much easier to deal with. Oh shit, she actually fell. No way. Ain't no way I got it, dude. But I didn't do it on purpose.
I swear guys, I did not want to cheese her, but things don't always go the way we want them to go. If I attempted that another 20 times, I still wouldn't be able to get her to clip through the wall. I tried for hours when I did my cheese all bosses run for this game. Anyways, I now had access to the Chalice dungeons, which meant a lot of cum, baby. Come, my lady. I also now had enough insight to buy the remaining shard I needed to upgrade to +3. Then I spoke to Blondie over here to receive 3 fire papers, gained access to the Forbidden Woods, and spoke to a corpse to receive the only consumable insight of the run. Then I unlocked the shortcut for no reason, just to pen out the time of the video and get that sweet mid-roll ad revenue. I survived a napalm bombing to the face reminiscing of Vietnam, only to then get punched in the face by the enemy right before reaching the goddamn shortcut. Finally, I managed to reach the elevator and got back to the dream to level up, but then I realized I was lacking a one single point in blood tinge to use the repeating pistol. But there was a simple solution for that. And after doing the same thing to his best friend, I had enough cash to level up and pay a visit to the Ringwraiths cosplayers. I unlocked the shortcut first because I knew there were going to be a lot of runbacks, if you know what I mean. Cause now this is where things started to get tough. I'll be honest, my first try was pathetic and second attempt went a bit better, but it was clear the damage had really fallen off. It never really took off in the first place, but details. The lack of blood gems made things obviously way worse, cause the untransformed Kirkhammer was hitting like a flaccid cock, but was faster than the transformed version, which would just leave me open for an attack. Even Viscerals were shit since I haven't yet invested any points into skill. The poor damage really extended the length of the fight, making resource management crucial. Obviously, Samurai Jack here was the first that needed to be sent into the pits of hell, as he is the most aggressive out of the three, but also the most consistent to parry. Unfortunately, the Dark Souls 1 Pyromancer was the cause of all my pain with its range attacks. I mean, most of my attempts failed because of this guy, but it didn't matter. The trick once the Katana Boy was taken care of was to kill the Fireball guy as fast as possible to then cheese the remaining one holding the candle. So it was all a matter of only taking the first 2 out and then it would turn into a cakewalk. I failed and failed again, until eventually I managed to take out the first shadow while still having a decent amount of resources. Then, slowly I chipped down the health bar of the second one, hit after hit. My Hunter Ultra instinct had finally kicked in and finally I managed to kill the second shadow, and now, for the remaining third, there was no chance anymore. Now, one would say Rum would fortunately be an easier target, right? So after I leveled up back in the Hunter's Dream and bought some drip, I prepared myself for what was going to be the most annoying, rage-inducing fight of the run. And this because of two main reasons. First was obviously the damage, and since the transformed version of the weapon was again too slow, I was left with a short sword to deal with the baby spiders, which did less than 100 damage per hit. To make things worse, the twin shards would become available in the shop after Rum, so I was stuck with a +3 weapon for this fight. And the second reason why this sucked so much was actually getting into the arena itself. As I couldn't pick up the Lunarium key, I would have to use the skip to access the boss. I tried and tried again. I watched a fair amount of YouTube videos, but still couldn't get it consistently. And to just add some extra salt on the open wound, even if I did manage to get in the boss room, I would then have to endure 20 minutes plus of fighting Rum, the worst and most boring boss in the entire game. I'll never understand why they put a slow-ass boss which constantly spams AoEs, halting your aggression and at times outright one-shotting you in a game all about aggression. Under these conditions, Rum became probably the hardest boss in the entire run, as the longer the fight, the easiest it is to commit mistakes. So yeah, it was a real shit show. The bugs before getting to the skip were also annoying, but thanks to some people in chat, I managed to get better at the skip eventually. Shout out to Dicky Batonic who gave me some important tips on positioning. He's a very experienced player, so go check his channel out, link in the description. Getting more consistent meant I could spend more time actually fighting Rum, and the winds were suddenly changing. Even if the damage sucked major donkey balls, Mama didn't raise no quitter. I just had to stay super safe, chipping the health bar one molecule at a time like the ultra paranoid bitch I am. It was just a slow battle between a comatose spider and a hunter who wore a helmet on the bus for school. I say it's time to shit out this turd-shaped spider out of the asshole of existence, and finally put this agony to rest. Obviously, once I successfully entered the room, I focused on the baby spiders which took 2 to 4 hits to kill. Yes, the baby spiders. But first phase is obviously easy as Rum just doesn't attack. When Rum teleported was when things were actually about to get real, but by always making sure to keep an eye on Rum and never, and I mean never get greedy while fighting the spiders, you will secure a victory in phase 2. The rest of the fight revolved around me meticulously hitting the giant potato once and then run away and wait for him to do whatever move, rinse and repeat. God bless the good old poke and run. If for some reason I would F up during his nuke explosion, I just tanked the hit, as trying to dodge it could possibly result in me getting one shot. I hated this fight already, and now, after living through this experience and really understanding the mechanics of the fight, I hate it even more. But the feeling of finally getting the final blow after 25 minutes and hearing the trumpets of victory gave me so much joy.
Holy shit, holy shit.
And with Mommy Rum dead, I could finally upgrade the Kirk Hammer to +6, even though for now I only had enough insight for +5, and I was missing a total of 7 twin blood shards, which cost 2 insight points each for a total of 14. So a lot of insight. So I began farming for it in the Chalice dungeons, wiping out the first Pthumerian Chalice with exceptional skill as usual. Just kidding, I mopped the floor with the giant, I took care of the 3 Americans, returned to the dream to search for this glyph, and bought the level 5 Pthumerian Chalice from this bath. Then I searched for this glyph, and this is where the fun begins, baby, because this is a reverse Chalice dungeon, meaning that the bosses are easy but drop good loot. And I was interested in the first layer boss, which was a pig, fortunately. I say fortunately, even though this was actually terrible. This would have been easy, yes, had my health bar not been taken away from me by the Chalice, resulting in many one-shots on my behalf. Let's say I was the hunted and the boar was the hunter, but the task for more power was far more greater than anything else, and after getting this far, I wasn't going to stop now. Once I finally killed the pig, I was lucky with the drops and got 2 blood chunks. Remaking the chalice meant a secure way of farming them. Runes could have helped with the drops, but unfortunately, I couldn't use them. That's why I got bored immediately and stopped as soon as I had 3 to upgrade the Kirkhammer to +7, which will be more than enough for the One Reborn. Turns out, it wasn't enough for the One Reborn. So instead, I paid a visit to Paul, or Paulina, and I used my mighty hammer to crush the beast's skull into millions and millions of pieces. This boss, by the way, is a true visual clusterfuck, but nonetheless, I tamed the mighty beast for infinite lighting papers. And then I could befriend Jura, who would have been useful like 20 hours ago. Even with the lightning papers, the One Reborn was still a formidable opponent. A +7 gemless Kirkhammer dealt really underwhelming damage, and with my disdain for farming, it wasn't going to get any better. After clearing up the witches, I focused on the boss himself. The charge attack from the Kirkhammer was difficult to land while he was busy moving his limbs around, and having to need 2 or 3 hits to stagger him, it meant I would have to get the timing right the best I could. But for some reason, I just couldn't get him to stagger in this attempt. Also, I was taking so much damage that I finished up all my vials 2/3 into the fight, so I said screw the limbs and directly attacked him in between his legs, where it hurts the most. And guess what? After 3 hits, the Redditor staggered and I got just enough time to land the final blows.
Cos. Or some say Cosm.
Ah, Micolash, everyone's favorite. With such a punchable face, I couldn't wait to smash it with my hammer. But before I could listen to the beautiful sound of metal crashing into his skull, I got rid of the annoying mannequins, luring them into the corridor before the arena. Once they were taken care of, it was time to dance with Mickey. When the coward escaped for second phase, I followed him, landing with my nutsack on his face. The only thing to worry about, as usual, was a call beyond, but by just dodging towards him it was easy to avoid, and soon after Micolash was ready to wake up from this nightmare to find out he shit the bed. So now the doors to the endgame were finally opened, and I was ready to sink my fangs into its flesh. Murgo's Wet Nurse has a shit ton of health, but has many attacks that leave her open for some heavy charge attacks. During the clone phase, just run around the plaza like a chicken with its head cut off. For the rest of the fight, just hug that booty like your life depends on it. And now the only one standing in my way was just an old man in a wheelchair. Gehrman, you can walk! You know that you're committing fraud, right? After some heavy farming in the Chalice dungeons, I leveled up skill to 30 to increase the damage on viscerals. And with my +7 Kirkhammer, I was ready to finish off this forsaken run. So, can you beat Bloodborne without picking up items? Yes, Yes, you can. But you'll leave yourself out for the best part of the game, which is the DLC. So totally not worth it. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please feel free to leave a like and comment what you think about the run. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.